I was 24 and I had just arrived in Los Angeles in pursuit of a screenwriting career. Did I want to be a screenwriter? Had that been a lifelong dream of mine? No. I knew I wanted to be a writer, and I knew I wanted to be successful. God, I wanted to be successful and famous even maybe, but I really wanted success. I craved it, and I had driven all the way across the country from Providence to Los Angeles with my brother to in pursuit of this success. And once I got to LA, I felt like I didn't stop driving. I just kept running from appointment to meeting, seeking it, never stopping, never resting. I couldn't rest. How could I rest? I couldn't rest until I had begun to find that success that I felt I needed to feel okay about myself, to feel good in the world. Never stopped, never rested. However, at the same time, I had reconnected with a girl. Well, she wasn't a girl anymore. She was when I met her. She was 17, and so was I. Back when we were seniors in high school, I'd seen her in a play and been smitten with her, Jennifer. Oh, my goodness. And I used to go to her house a couple times a week. This was our courtship. I would go to her house and we'd sit in the living room and just talk for an hour. Then I'd leave and I'd come over again and we'd talk for another. I just loved talking to her. We'd talk on the phone. I loved talking to her. It was so interesting. It was like a little journey we were going on. She was funny. She was philosophical. She was psychological. What an interesting person. And she wasn't really interested in success in a weird way. I mean, she wanted it, but it wasn't her preoccupation. She was just interested in people and life. And it was so nice to talk to her in that way. And so, but she was living in Seattle. She moved away at the end of our senior year. Oh, I was heartbroken. Oh, and I dreamed of her. Literally, I would dream of her every so often, wondering what would become of her. Would we ever be together again? And then just when I was getting ready to move out, I thought, I'll be on the same coast as Jen. I should give her a call. That was my thinking. It would be rude not to. So I did. And she wasn't seeing anybody, and we talked. And then I drove out to LA, and we talked once I got there. And we talked again. So I'd spend the days running around Los Angeles. And then every so often I'd give Jen a ring. And one night I got home from running around Los Angeles. I called her and we started talking again, talking about our time when we were seniors in high school and talking about life and what we hoped for and creativity. She was going to art school now. That was great. So we talked about art, about writing. She'd gone to art school because she wanted to learn to illustrate her children's books. So this was cool. She wasn't a writer in high school, but she was now. How cool. We're both interested in that. And so we talked as the sun set. And I sat in that living room on the floor of my friend's Venice apartment, talking as the sun faded. And then finally it had gotten dark and my ear was sore. It was time to hang up. And I said goodbye and I hung up. And I just sat there. And for that moment, I felt still. I felt an alive stillness in me. And I thought, oh, right, that's me. That's me. The alive stillness. And 2 years or 6 months later, I'd moved to Seattle to be with her. 2 years later, we were married. I always consider the choice to be with Jen to be the choice against which all others are measured. Felt the most authentic. But it's no surprise that conversation we took, which is like a little journey you take together, ended with that feeling of alive stillness. Because years later, when I would write my first essay for Author Magazine, the essay that would begin the kind of work that led to fearless writing and even this podcast, when I finished that for the first time, I felt that same alive stillness in me. It's worth noting, if you're a writer, stories are about movement, there's no doubt. There's a great momentum when we get into the flow, as I've talked about some on this podcast. There's a great sense of movement momentum. But I have found that when I begin my day, I have to start in stillness. And that stillness is me, because that creative stillness, that place from which I can choose the story I want to tell, the journey I want to take, the person I want to be with. That stillness, which is always there, doesn't want anything, doesn't have anything to prove, doesn't need to achieve anything. It just is there, interested, curious, waiting. And from there, from that place of non-movement, from that place, I can choose the story I am meant to tell. Thanks for watching. As always, I do these every week, so if you don't want to miss an episode, click subscribe. If you like it, say so. It's always good to hear from you. So, till next week, this is Bill Kenower. Stay fearless.